After losing his family to a demon attack, Rosha is reborn as the 77th powerful mage knight of the Golden Dawn Society. To avenge her family, she trains hard and gets closer to her goal every time. She is then tasked with protecting little Joshua, who is said to be the child of God. A young and very brave girl begins a completely new life, full of adventures. Rosha Rostelia was brought back to life and sent to Earth to the Golden Dawn Society at the call of the powerful gods. Now, she is one of the most powerful magic knights. And now the main task of the girl knight was to find and protect as much as possible the child of God, little Prince Joshua. Before this, no one had managed to do this 100%. After some time, Rosha completed the first part of her task. She found the boy after numerous tricks of the evil demons. All that remains is to organize Joshua's defense. The girl met another character by chance. He watched her for a long time. She noticed this, but did not show it until a certain moment. And then she just took the guy by surprise. What kind of daredevil is this? Have you completely lost your fear? How can you follow a mighty knight? She will turn him into a pile of ashes. But before doing this, you need to ask him how he ended up here and for what purpose. They did not fight for long because Rosha appreciated his strength. She was too big, and it was impossible to defeat this guy. Yes, maybe it's not necessary. But she patted his hand pretty badly. The guy yelled at her to stop, that they would still have to talk and figure everything out. And when Rosha took a closer look at the stranger's face, she shuddered in surprise. It was Kheen. It turned out that he had been watching her for a long time and knew everything about her. The guy did not lose sight of the knight's life for a moment, and all because Rosha is very important to him. And he doesn't intend to let her go just like that. One day, Joshua asked Rosha what she would do if it suddenly turned out that he was not a child of God at all. Suddenly, it is not he who should be the savior of this world. What then? What will the girl do with him then? But the faithful knight replied that even if so, she would never give up on him. This is her direct mission, to care for and protect this boy from all the dark forces of this universe. She knew that one day, when the gates of the dark and light worlds open at the same time, he will descend to Earth, and he will resemble a demon that existed before the beginning of time, and she will defeat this alien. But then, at dusk, in the golden hour, when darkness falls on the world, Rosha will close his eyes and leave God, and she will begin a new mission. Her life on Earth at first glance might seem completely ordinary. An ordinary house, ordinary village activities. Everything is like all the residents of this village. And in addition, there are constant quarrels with parents. While the girl was sitting in the far corner behind the outbuildings, everyone had already searched her. She didn't want to see absolutely anyone, not even her best friend. The same can't be said about your best friend. He had already lost his voice, shouting so loudly, calling her. He found the girl after lunch. She missed school, but didn't regret it at all. Rosha didn't even think that he would worry about her. The boy said that if she continues to be angry with her little sister Lily, then Lamia will definitely take her in. He will take it and eat it. Therefore, Rosha needs to be a little softer and kinder to the people around her. When Roshi asked who Lamia was, the boy was very surprised. Are there really children who don't know about the existence of such a monster? Well, since there are still such people, he will willingly tell her what kind of demon it is. It turned out that this demon was very scary and powerful. He looked like a huge black woman with long hair and glowing eyes, and instead of legs, she had a real snake tail. For a certain time, Lamia watches bad children who do not obey their parents and skip school, and then he suddenly appears and drags them away to eat them later. But Rosha got angry with the boy and called him a fool. She is angry at her parents for a reason. They just love their little sister, but they don't even pay attention to her. All they can do is scold her and overwhelm her with work. Why was she born as an older sister? She wasn't given a choice. Mom and Dad jump around Lily all the time because she is small. And Rocha always remains on the sidelines. She's older, so she should understand everything. But she doesn't want to understand. She wants a little attention. The friend really understood how difficult it was for the girl, so he suggested we go for a walk in the evening. Just the two of us, without my younger sister. They can talk calmly and decide what Roche should do next. How good it is that there are friends in the world. After all, only this poor but very nice boy understands her. He is ready to spend his time and be next to her in order to calm her down at least a little. In the evening, the boy was already waiting for Rocha at the house. The girl decided to take her beloved dog Polly for a walk. Let him run around the street a little. The children decided to walk around the city and then go to the park. Near the town hall, the children read a strange announcement about a dangerous group of villains who are going to take over the world and rule it. The gang called themselves Golden Dawn. It included suspicious individuals. The boy's father said that Golden Dawn is a huge occult sect. Its members are scattered all over the world. This organization is so strong that no government can cope with it. Everyone is afraid of the consequences. But there is another side to the coin. If some kind of disaster happens, people disappear from the city for no apparent reason, demons threaten, or in general, something sinister happens, then they always call Golden Dawn. But don't think that this organization works for free. They will ask a huge price for their services. But what they undertake is always carried to its logical conclusion. That is why this clan is very rich. Rocha also learned that many in the Empire criticized Golden Dawn for inciting society by spreading strange rumors. And many also consider them demon worshippers. Suddenly, Polly stopped obeying her little mistress. She stopped and refused to go further. She seemed to hear her friends talking and felt something was wrong ahead of her. This type of behavior had never been observed in a dog before. She saw something that the girl and boy did not see. Polly barked furiously and looked at one point. If Rocha had held her, it seemed she would have run away. The dog completely refused to go any further. The girl could not hold her. She deftly snatched the leash and headed in an unknown direction. So what should poor Roche do? How can she show herself at home without a dog? We'll have to catch up with Polly. She asked her friend to return home, and she would run after the dog. Let him tell Dad that Polly ran away, and Rocha went to look for her, so she will return later. If only that obnoxious dog had not run away then. If only she knew what would happen next. If only her best friend had not returned home, but went with her. Everything would be completely different. Everyone would be alive and happy. Polly really felt something. She grabbed the hem of Roshi's dress and began to pull her to the side, away from the house. But the girl broke away and became very angry with the dog. She returns to her parents, and she'll have a walk and come running home herself. The girl was returning home when it was already dark outside. Now her parents will scold her again. All hope lies with the friend who should have warned them. Or maybe they're still at work. Parents often stayed there. For some reason, it was creepy to enter the house. There was deathly silence all around. It seemed like there was no one inside. Oddly enough, Polly finally caught up with her mistress almost at the gate. Finally, the girl decided to open the door. What Rocha saw shocked her. Her best friend was lying on the floor. It seems he was dead. And hovering near him was Lamia, a woman with a snake's tail. It really exists. All the boy could shout was for the girl to quickly run away from here. Otherwise, Lamia will grab her too. But Rocha knew that her younger sister was still at home. Where did Lily go? Did this creature really eat her? While the girl was recovering from the shock and trying to do something, the monster dropped the marine and turned its attention directly to her. So what should she do? Until she is convinced that Lily is alive, she will not move. Suddenly, as if out of nowhere, Lily ran out to her. It turns out that she hid behind a large and heavy chest of drawers. The girl was terribly scared, so she immediately rushed into her sister's arms. But Lily didn't manage to grab hold of Rocha tightly. The lamia was faster and stronger, so it wrapped its long tail around the girl's legs and pulled her towards itself. The baby started screaming loudly, but faithful Polly came running to help. She growled loudly and rushed at the monster. The demon did not expect that the dog would stand up for the girls, so he was confused for a second and crawled away. At that moment, Lily managed to escape. To gain time to save the girls, Polly began to desperately fight the demon. The forces were absolutely uneven, so the dog quickly got tired, and Lamia managed to wrap her strong tail around her. Rosha grabbed her sister by the shoulders and tried to bring her to her senses. They need to run. Run very quickly while Lamia doesn't see. Only if they manage to get out of these walls will they have a chance of salvation. While the older sister was trying to persuade the baby to run, the dog's barking suddenly died down. The girls saw that the monster was approaching them again. Now there was no time to hesitate for a second. Otherwise, death. So Rosha grabbed her sister's hand tightly and ran as fast as she could. They need to break away from the demon and get to the village, to the people. There they will be helped and, perhaps, will even be able to defeat Lamia. They had been running headlong for several minutes, but Rosha came across a bump and hit her foot painfully. She could no longer run. Her leg hurt terribly. And what should she do next? The village is still far away. She won't be able to get there. Lily was seriously scared. We need to come up with something. She is strong and can carry her sister on her, if only she would agree. But Roshi had another idea. The two of them will not be able to reach the village. The sister must run alone. Suddenly, images from my childhood surfaced in my memory. She clearly remembers the day when Lily appeared in their house and took all the love of her parents for herself. Rosha faded into the background, taking the honorable place of the older sister. In addition to the fact that the younger sister took all the parental care for herself, she also demanded Roshi's attention. Therefore, the girl often simply hid from Lily to be alone. It was now that the girl realized that her younger sister did not want her harm, and was not at all malicious towards her. She just wanted love and attention from her older sister. Just like that. Not because of profit or whims. And now it's time to act like a real big sister and try to protect Lily from the monster. Therefore, she looked at the girl and seriously said that she would run further alone, and Rosha would remain here. Lily resisted, saying that she wouldn't go anywhere without her sister. If necessary, she will carry her on her back. But Rosha said that she should run to the village and warn people about the danger. Then they will come to her aid. If Lily drags her, then they are unlikely to get to the village, and the demon will not sit still. He will quickly catch up with them, so she will stay here, and her sister will go for help. Finally, Lily came to her senses and realized how important it was now to listen to what her sister was saying and act quickly. Therefore, the girl promised that she would quickly reach the village and would definitely return with help. Rosha watched her sister leave with a sad look. She was almost 100% sure that she would get to the village, and she was almost 100% sure that Lamia would grab her before Lily brought help. How she also wanted to live. Yes, she is the older sister and protected the younger one. But who will save her? She can only hope that the demon will be distracted by some urgent matters that are more important than her. But it was too stupid to hope for that. A miracle did not happen, and the monster gradually approached the girl. Due to her injured leg, Rosha could only walk on all fours, but it still wouldn't lead to anything. The girl asked all higher powers to protect her and prolong her life. She so wants to see her parents, friend, sister. She so wants to live longer. And then she saw a bright light that enveloped her from head to toe. A loud voice was heard behind the light, asking if the girl wanted to live. And Rosha shouted that she really wanted to live. She will do anything to stay alive. And if this is a force for good, then it will serve it forever. The voice continued to say that if she wants to be on the side of light and good, she must certainly fight the forces of darkness. And Rosha clearly and confidently said that she was ready. Immediately, the girl was lifted up by a warm and light whirlwind. The man walked through the village slowly, looking at everything on the sides. Finally, he came across what he was looking for. The body of a demon with a long snake tail lay in the middle of one of the courtyards. He was dead. There was blood mixed with earth around him, so it was a terrible fight. But then his gaze stopped. The man was dumbfounded by what he saw. A girl was lying next to Lamia. It seems she was still alive, just unconscious. Who is she, and how did she end up here? But that comes later. Now it needs to be put in order. He lifted the girl onto his shoulder and headed towards the exit from the village. She was light as a feather, so the burden did not greatly strain the stranger. We need to quickly help her and bring her to her senses. Rosha could not open her eyes, but when she succeeded, she almost jumped out of bed in surprise. Where is she? What is this beautiful room with a big, soft bed? And who is this man standing and looking at her? At first, she was scared. But then I realized that I was alive, and that's the main thing. She'll figure it out later. The man calmed her down and asked her not to be afraid. No one will touch her, and moreover, no one intends to harm her. After these words, the stranger took a cup from the table, dripped some potion from a bottle into it, and handed it to the girl. He said it was medicine. After Rocha takes it, her pain will be less. Finally, the girl calmed down and came to her senses a little. This begs a logical question. Where is she? The man said that she was in the capital, very far from her village where she lived. When asked why she was here and how she ended up so far from home, the man also answered quite clearly. She was lucky enough to survive the fight against the monster, and he found her and decided to help. That's all. It turns out that she was very lucky that the stranger was nearby at the right moment. Otherwise, even if she came to her senses, she would hardly survive the injuries and unbearable pain. Therefore, I should be grateful to him, and also to avoid misunderstandings in the future. The man held the mirror up to her. Her hair color and eye color have changed dramatically, but he has absolutely nothing to do with it. This is not his trick, and he doesn't know how it happened. The stranger then said that now it was Roshi's turn to ask questions. For example, how Lamia got to her settlement, or why her hair color changed, and also what is happening to her village now, and whether it still exists. The girl was horrified. Is it possible that her village and her home no longer exist? But the residents must remain. Did he see any survivors? Her sister Lily was supposed to be there, as well as her mother and father. For some reason, she kept silent about her friend. The man sighed and sat down on the chair next to the bed. He introduced himself. His name is Aaron Rostelier. He will not harm her. He is assigned to investigate the matter with Lamia. During the investigation, he found her and took her to the capital. While he doesn't know her name, he calls her by number, 777, but he hurries to tell her the unpleasant news. In her village, he did not meet a single living person. It turns out that all its inhabitants died from the demon. Rocha didn't want to believe what the man said. She asked again if he had seen a little girl of about 5 years old there in the village. This is her sister, and she cannot die. She's still so small. Aaron put several photos on the bed. He took photographs of dead people so that during the investigation process, he could later establish the identities of the dead. And Rosha began to examine them. For some reason, my hands began to tremble, and tears appeared in my eyes. She knew all these people. And in the first photo, there was the same boy with whom she spent her entire childhood, her beloved friend. But she didn't see Lily's photo. Aaron noticed the trace of Lamia near the village in the forests. It looked like the demon was heading straight for the village. There are many more victims besides children, and this tore Rosha's heart. How? How did this happen? Why did the demon come to them? Despite the tears and trembling hands, the girl did not stop until she had carefully examined absolutely all the photographs several times. It cost her incredible effort, but she never found a photo with her sister. The man said that these were all the victims who were photographed, and Rosha breathed a sigh of relief. Since there is no photo of Lily here, there is hope that her sister is still alive. Rosha began to beg Aaron to help her find her sister. She is definitely alive and is probably hiding in the nearest city. She is a very strong girl. She runs fast. But now she needs help. But the man's words simply killed her. Aaron reported that he examined in detail every square meter of land in the village and walked absolutely all the streets in the nearest towns and villages. But, unfortunately, there are no traces. The girl was on the verge of madness. Her eyes sparkled with hatred. She will definitely. And the girl was also very interested in why the man called her 777. Somehow strange. She does have a name. Or is there some kind of army here? Why not call her a woman's name? What does this have to do with 37? Aaron even laughed. While she was unconscious, he managed to measure the level of her magic. It is he who corresponds to the indicator 777. That's what he called it. It has a lot of magical power because not everyone is able to kill a demon with one blow. But to the great regret of the man, this rank turned out to be quite low. With this level, she absolutely cannot be sent on missions to fight demons. She is still too inexperienced. She needs to learn. Suddenly, the door to the room opened, and a high-status young man appeared on the threshold. He asked. The guy came closer and said hello. Then he introduced himself. His name is Noah Rostelier, and now he will try to explain everything to the girl in detail, but in a fairly simple form. Aaron stood up and bowed to the young man. The man said he was never very good at teaching anyone. Therefore, Noah will do it much faster and better. Noah placed several chocolates in front of the girl. She lost a lot of strength and took various medications. So now, to restore balance, eat sweets. The young man sat down next to the bed and first of all apologized for overhearing her conversation with Aaron. The guy is very sorry that trouble happened to her sister. But girls' tears appeared in Roshi's eyes. How can you be strong if your whole family, and even your best friend, was devoured by some monster? And for some reason she remained alive, as the demon also attacked her. Noah began to explain that she was a very special case, and it was not at all by chance that she survived. This was ordained by higher powers. Therefore, now the girls need to calm down and listen carefully. Noah told one very ancient myth later, how God sent a child to the fallen world to save him, and also to bring foolish people to their senses. It was a legend about a child of God who saved the world from evil through self-sacrifice. It turns out that the religion of this country is also based on this ancient myth. Even now, Many residents of the empire believe in the legend of one god. The child of God used to be a white angel, but then he was reborn in the world of people in order to save them. But God grieved greatly for his only child, who ended up in the human world. It is said that he made a promise that when he sent down another savior of the world, but there is one more small condition. To awaken the knights sent by God, they must be reborn after. It turned out that Noah also suffered from monsters. But since Rosha was reborn, now, regardless of her wishes, she will have to live as Rostelier. The girl had already heard the word Rostelier many times, but she had no idea what it meant. Perhaps this is the surname of an ancient and very powerful family to which Noah and Aaron belong. But the guy shook his head. He asked Rosha if she had ever heard of an organization like Golden Dawn. It turned out that all the knights who are part of this organization discard their real surname. I gave it to Rostelier. Noah used to have a different last name, too. But for many years now, the girl began to be indignant. Why should she renounce her real name? The guy noticed that the girl suddenly became sad. He understood her perfectly, so he tried to support her. When she becomes part of the common family, Noah will do everything for her sister. This whole situation drained the girl. Why can't she go find Lily alone and right now? But the guy still answered in the same calm tone that in their clan it is not a plus. Her level of magical power is not high enough. All members of the organization are assessed by a special commission. She will be able to deal with demons directly only when her rank increases by another 200 units. Rosha realized that at this stage, she could only participate in the battles with demons as a support. There was nothing else to do but agree to help her increase her magical power. Well, here the girl was disappointed. Noah said that she would not be able to change her magical potential. No matter how hard she tries, her rank is too low to get to the top. Therefore, he will not waste time training her. But the girl turned out to be too stubborn. She said that she then refused to join the Golden Dawn clan, and the guy gave up. He gave her a year. If during this time she cannot raise her rank, she will calm down and obey like everyone else. An ironic smile appeared on Noah's face. It's not such a bad idea to give the girl time to forget about her regrets. Rosha soon learns that her hopes are completely in vain. The guy said that this was the end of their conversation. Now he needs to show the girl her new home. And this house, according to Roshi, was simply amazing. After a certain period of time, Noah had to admit that he was fundamentally mistaken about the girl. The magical potential of such a weak Roshi rose 700 positions up in just a year. This surprised not. And after another 4 years of hard training, Rosha Rostelier became one of the most brutal. Now her number is not 777, but simply 77. And she is confidently approaching the very top. And now even Noah is confident that the girl will reach her very quickly. Now she was not afraid of absolutely anything. And no monster was afraid of her. She learned her skills got better and better. She was just playing with the last monster. But the more monsters the girl killed, the tougher her character became. She began to notice that she was killing these creatures with great pleasure, even getting some pleasure. And that was bad. She herself gradually turned into a monster. She needed to control her strength and anger. After all, she is here for revenge. Her job is not to enjoy the process, but returning from the forest, where she was destroying another demon, Rosha noticed two girls on the street. They were quarreling. The younger one asked the older one to take her for a walk, but she became angry and refused. The girl knight's heart sank painfully. The last minutes of life together with my sister, farewell and promise to protect each other surfaced in my memory, and now she doesn't even know if her Lily is alive. Years have passed. Her little sister must be old enough by now. In this rush, in the fight against monsters and demons, she completely forgot about her main goal, to find Lily and bring her home. In heavy thoughts and memories of childhood, the girl did not notice how she got to the main castle of her organization, Golden Dawn. This was her last mission. She was trained and did a lot for the... Noah was already waiting for her in the office, and the man seemed to be puzzled by something. There was an uncomfortable silence. Rosha asked directly why she was called here after completing the mission. She no longer owes the Golden Dawn clan anything. The man looked at her carefully and said that tomorrow was Roshi's 14th birthday. She is the youngest in their family. And of course, all members of the organization will come to celebrate. The girl got a little angry, and that's the only reason she was forced to return as quickly as possible. But why? A knight's birthday is such a holiday. Something is wrong here, and she needs to figure it out. Noah decided to move the conversation to another topic. He turned his attention to the small white wolf pup that Rosha had picked up in the girl, without thinking for a long time, asked directly what they wanted from her. And Noah replied that she has become a very experienced and valuable employee. Therefore, the Golden Dawn clan would prefer that the girl continue to work for them and carry out missions. Now they will give her some rest. Since she had nowhere else to go, why not agree? And now, when she is given a little rest, she can calmly go in search of her sister, and Rosha will find her no matter what. But Noah seemed to read her thoughts, because the man told the girl not. Noah also said that Giselle wants to give her a gift and pick her a beautiful dress for the holiday. And this is very bad. This person will take away all her free time. Therefore, we need to hurry. But much to Roshi's regret, he couldn't escape. As she walked up the stairs to her room, she ran straight into a woman. She seemed to be in a good mood and was already waiting. Giselle did not waste any time, and despite all the excuses of the girl night, the search for a festive outfit began immediately. Rocha has already tried on dozens of looks. The woman seemed completely oblivious to the girl's displeasure. She enjoyed the process and had no intention of stopping it. While Rosha was in the fitting room, she played with a little wolf cub. After several hours of grueling torture with fashionable clothes, the outfit was finally chosen. What Giselle saw completely satisfied her aesthetic taste. Indeed, Rosha looked amazing. All these years of study, the woman was nearby. And now she saw how much the girl had changed. She has become so sophisticated. Rocha asked the woman if she thought Noah had become a little strange lately and was acting differently. And today I called all the members of the organization. Giselle agreed with the girl's opinion because Noah gave her a few days off too, and he behaves really strangely. But maybe he's just preparing for Roshi's birthday. But as it turned out, they will not be the only ones to rest. All knights of the first rank received short leave. This means that the best warriors will also take a break from mission. But then Giselle decided not to bother anymore. Tomorrow is Roshi's birthday, so you need to have a good rest and gain. While the girls were choosing outfits for tomorrow, Noah sat in his office and enjoyed the solitude and silence. The man thought about Roche. She has almost reached, but he did not enjoy the peace for long. There was a knock on the door, and Aaron appeared on the threshold. He came with news. The man sat down opposite. Judging by his facial expression, he has something to please his interlocutor. On the night before Roche's birthday, she dreamed of her home. How she would like, even for a minute, to return to those times where she was happy with her family. She received a huge, delicious cake from her mother for every birthday, but she didn't like that she had to share it with her younger sister. But Lily was the most. On the last holiday together, Lily prepared a gift for her sister. It was a beautiful flower bracelet. The little girl did her best to make the decoration sophisticated and attractive. But for some reason, Roche did not like such a gesture from her sister. She took the bracelet into her fist and squeezed it hard. The parents also could not understand the reason for Roshi's hatred of his own sister. They made a remark to the girls, trying to explain that Lily wanted to please her from the bottom of her heart. If only everything could be experienced again. She wouldn't do that to people who loved her. Why was it only she, the most evil of the family, who managed to survive? Why didn't the demon take her and leave her family alone? Suddenly, through her sleep, the girl heard the quiet voice of her sister. Lily called her and asked her to find her quickly. It was so real that it seemed as if her little sister was standing by her bed. Rosha woke up from a terrible thought that if her sister was alive, then she definitely thought that the girl had forgotten about her long ago. After all, several years have passed since that terrible evening when the demon took away her closest people. Why is everything like this? Now she is full of strength. She has the opportunity to go in search of her sister. So why is Rosha lying in this warm bed, knowing that Lily is very ill now? Finally, this day has come. Noah organized a real ball in her honor and invited all the members of the Golden Dawn. Rosha had never experienced such close attention to herself. All the guests simply admired the appearance of the girl knight, and she really looked amazing. The dress that Giselle picked out for her fit perfectly, but Rosha herself felt awkward. Noah saw that the girl was shy, so he decided to support her. He took her hand and asked her to calm down and not blush at every compliment directed at her. She truly deserves the greatest praise. The guy himself did not take his eyes off the girl, but he tried not to show it, so he looked furtively. He advised Roche to smile more. Her smile is so bright and radiant that it immediately lifts your spirits. No matter how hard the girl tried, she still felt awkward. Why organize such a holiday because of her? She was not used to being the center of attention of so many people. Rosha called Giselle over and quietly asked if she could retire to her room. But having received a categorical refusal, the girl asked to cover her while she at least went out onto the balcony in order to calm down a little. After several minutes of persuasion, the woman gave in and allowed Roche to hide on the balcony for a while. She really needs fresh air to come to her senses and stop worrying. Finally, the long-awaited silence came. She can exhale and relax. The night was quiet. Fortunately, there was no one on the balcony. The girl remembered that today was also her sister's birthday. She and Lily were born on the same day, but thoughts about her sister stopped the moment she saw the silhouette of an approaching man. Who could it be? Did Noah? To Roshi's surprise, it was not Noah. Kheen Rostelier, a third-rank magician, was approaching her. He was the right hand of the head of the Golden Dawn Society, and was the strongest warrior. The young man was only 2 years older than Roshi, and Noah decided that the boy would become a new friend and part-time teacher. This way, she will feel comfort and some support. She tried to follow the example of this boy in everything. He inspired her and often supported her because he was much stronger. Rocha said that she wants to achieve the maximum in training in order to be able to destroy any demons. She also told how unfair she was to her sister and how she now regrets it. Therefore, she needs to become strong in order to find Lily and ask her forgiveness for everything. But what Kheen answered her plunged her into deep shock. The guy asked how you can bring back someone who is already dead. By this, he showed that he is an absolutely heartless person. Rosha was seriously angry, and she also called this young callous boor a friend. Friends exist to support you in difficult times and not to add fuel to. Kheen did not give up, and his words seemed correct and logical to the boy. How dare he even say something like that right to her face? He knows nothing about her sister or herself and has never experienced what Roche had to endure. She raised her hand and swung it, deciding to hit the boy. But the girl forgot that the level of magic that Kheen possessed was so high that it was simply impossible to fight him. The boy simply disappeared into thin air in 1 second. They haven't seen each other for a very long time. But Kheen was not going to greet the girl normally. His appearance was absolutely calm and slightly arrogant. There was an uncomfortable silence. After being silent for a little longer, the guy said that they had never been particularly close to arrange warm meetings and greet each other. If she doesn't like the look of it, she doesn't have to look. Every year he appears at her holiday, and some nonsense happens. Today was Kheen did not react to the girl's words. He simply asked if she had received his birthday present yet, and Rosha knew that she would again be presented with something that would ruin her mood. There was silence again. But why does he behave this way? She asked not to give her a gift this year. Let him keep it for himself. She doesn't need his weird handouts. And she is simply infuriated by his pompousness. But then something happened that the girl could not have expected from this strange man. He came too close, took Rocha's hand, brought it to his lips, and kissed it tenderly, congratulating her on the holiday. What was that all about? Why is he acting this way? The girl suddenly pulled away from surprise, turned around, and headed towards the building. Her birthday is over. Let her get out of here. Finally, Rocha thanked the guy for sending her the gift. She, of course, had not seen it yet and had not unpacked it, but I'm sure that it will go straight into the trash can. That's where he belongs. The next morning, all the leading members of the Golden Dawn Society gathered in the dining room. It was necessary to discuss plans to fight demons. Noah asked if everyone enjoyed yesterday's celebration in honor of Roshi. Since yesterday's entire celebration was arranged for her sake, Rosha decided to thank everyone present for the honor bestowed upon her. But in fact, I wanted to say that she didn't ask for this, and also really didn't want to see Kashin's face at the end of the evening. Then Noah moved on to business. He said that the reason he gathered everyone here was because many of those present here have brothers or sisters. Therefore, he believes that now is the time to talk about. Now they should think about how to find the child of God. Only in this way will they be able to move on and efficiently complete their missions to destroy demons. Rocha confirmed that the new savior was to be born during the rising of the Blue Dawn. She remembers this day very well, because it was then that Lamia appeared in her village and killed her relatives. According to all the calculations that Aaron and Noah made, this child of God is now 13 years old. One woman became pregnant while innocent. Therefore, they immediately headed to Baria. But it so happened that it was at that moment that terrible monsters attacked the village. Real chaos began. The men left the woman with the midwife and went to the battlefield themselves. Of course, defeating monsters was very difficult back then. Many village residents died. The forces were unequal, but Aaron and Noah managed. It was after the battle, the men went in search of the pregnant woman. The child of God should have already been born. But unfortunately, they found her dead in an abandoned well. But the midwife and the child were not nearby. Rosha listened so intently that she even forgot to blink. But the midwife with a small newborn could not get out of the dry well on her own. Of course, an investigation began. Noah and Aaron visited all the orphanages. There were many children there who survived this terrible battle in Baria, but they were taken by families from different countries. Members of the society suggested that they should now look for children with the gift of sacred power. Most likely they are the children of God. But Noah said that there are 3 ways to prove that a child is a child of God. The child of God must have a wound on his shoulder. This is a mark that gives its owner magical sacred power, and also the child is possessed by evil spirits, and this is very dangerous. Since the Golden Dawn organization is looking for the child of God, the group that worships evil spirits. But there is another problem: the emergence of a false savior. Like the Golden Dawn, Babylon has its own prophets, and with their actions and their appearance, they can easily confuse the knights. Therefore, it is always worth remembering that the Golden Dawn is looking for a child of God to serve light and goodness. But in parallel, the organization of the Master of Babylon is looking for him to serve the forces of darkness. That's why Noah gathered everyone at the central office to explain the situation and develop a plan of action. Judging by the available information, all adopted children are checked by the Masters of Babylon. All members present here have magical powers. Therefore, regardless of rank, each of them will go to a certain country to protect the adopted children from Baria. Children will need to be supervised, and if it turns out that one of them is a child of God, then he will need to be delivered to the Golden Dawn organization in order to. Kheen will also participate in the case. He will periodically visit the main headquarters and inform his superiors about the situation. Therefore, each member has now been given long-term leave to rest. The team will discuss all the details at the next meeting. You need to think things through and work through all the options. Noah asked Kheen and Rosha to stay longer in the meeting room. Surprise appeared on the girl's face. Why leave her, and even together with this pompous knight? And what will he tell her now? Will he not allow you to go in search of your sister? The man was silent for a while. Then he looked at Rosha and said that although she was very young, her professionalism had reached the pinnacle. He trusts her completely. But the girl should remember that the work will not be easy. Rosha was angry. Why is he telling her this in front of such a witness? In general, why doesn't Kheen leave? Noah continued. To prove his dedication to the organization, he asks her to do something. She expected to hear any request or order, but not this. Never. It seemed that Noah didn't even notice that the girl was turning green with anger. He said that the guy would have to personally visit her in a foreign. Rosha simply began to be indignant. I tried to prove that the meetings would not be long, so there was no need to make peace. And the girl is not going to communicate closely with him. But Noah was adamant. His face expressed total seriousness. If she does not make peace with Kheen, then she withdraws from the search for the children of God and begins to engage in her planned missions. Kheen joined the conversation. He said that there was another reason why the girl would have to participate in the operation to save the child of God, and that reason is Lily Levin. What? Didn't she hear right now? Let him repeat again what he just said. He found her sister. But how? And where? Where is Lily now? Why was he silent all this time? Why didn't you tell me yesterday? The guy handed her the documents. It is assumed that the divine child was adopted by the aristocratic family of their state, Heraton. There, Kheen came across a girl who looked like Roshi's sister. This girl has short blonde hair. Her age is about 9 to 12 years. This child does not remember the name of the village in which she grew up, does not remember the date of birth or her family members. The girl also claims that her real name is Lily Levin and that she has an older sister named Rosha, whom she loves very much. Noah did not understand at all how Roshi's sister could end up in another country. But if the girl wants to take up this matter and return her sister, then she needs to make peace with Kashin in order to work normally. Roche was so ashamed that she could not raise her eyes to look at the guy, so she said the words, "Forgive me," somewhere at her feet. But Noah demanded that Kashin also apologize to the girl. He was aware of how the guy spoke about Lily. Therefore, they need to forgive each other for their grievances and move forward together. Kashin also lowered his head. He understood perfectly well that he had also offended the girl, and he did this more than once, or even twice. He does not know the feeling of love for his own sister. He has no relatives. The guy had so much to say to this girl. Because of his stubbornness and harmful nature, he always wanted to appear unperturbed. And he was A few days later, Noah noticed that Rosha was nowhere to be seen. Maybe something happened. He decided to visit her room. It turned out that she was just playing with the wolf cub, eating and sleeping, gaining strength before the mission. The strange thing was that the girl played with the little wolf for days on end, but forgot to give him a name. And finally today, Noah gave him a name. The dog was named Shad. Kira really liked the name. It meant honest and fair. She hoped that this little friend would always be by her side, protect her, and dilute her loneliness. After 2 days, the girl went to the platform. She was leaving for the neighboring country. Of course, she took Shad with her. But one more team member was missing, the faithful Black Raven Ray. Fortunately, he arrived at the very last moment. A foreign country greeted the girl with frosty wind and snow. It was very cold here. Rosha was not at all used to this. The girl no longer liked this environment, but there was nothing to do. She would have to work in such conditions. To warm her hands, Rocha stuffed them into her coat pockets. In one of them, she felt something strange. Rocha arrived at the specified address. It was an old, beautiful building, very similar to a castle or palace. An older woman opened the door for her. Inside, the palace turned out to be quite abandoned. It seemed like no one lived here at all. This slightly tensed the girl. Where have all the people gone? Even Ray the Raven was worried. He began to make terrible screams and ask to get out of the cage. Therefore, the girl asked the woman for permission to let the bird out of the cage so that it could stretch its... As soon as Rosha opened the cage, the raven immediately flew up. And it already became clear that he was not... The woman led Rosha to a huge wooden door and knocked on it. Then she asked for forgiveness for disturbing the... The door opened with a creak. A silhouette appeared behind her. What was strange was that this silhouette was kneeling. It was a man. A terribly neglected man named... Rosha began to introduce herself, saying that she was sent by the Golden Dawn organization. But the man didn't seem to listen to her at all. He asked if she was human. The girl did not quite understand the essence of the question. For what purpose is he asking this? Rosha simply replied that she was indeed human, and a man should not worry so much. To verify her words and check whether this girl was a person, Count Baldwin asked permission to touch her hand. This way, he can determine for sure the veracity of her words. Only after the man was sure that the girl was a representative of the human race did he invite her to his office. There was a dim light burning there, but it was very warm from the fire in the fireplace. The man picked up a whole stack of documents that were lying on the table and began to tell. When they adopted a child from a foreign country, everything seemed to be normal. But when the baby turned 2 years old, then the Count handed the girl an album with drawings. All this was drawn by the child they adopted. He did this very often, but the drawings turned out almost identical, with the same plot. Rocha reviewed the entire album. The drawings were truly terrible, not because they were poorly drawn, but because the child drew very scary images. On one of the sheets, Rocha saw a very familiar image. She remembered him from childhood. The paper depicted Lamia, and she looked the same as the day she appeared in their village. Looking at the next drawing, the girl was surprised and scared at the same time. 2 little girls were drawn on a black background, and Rocha knew 100% that she was her sister Lily. Videographs showing how much the girl's face changed after she looked at all the drawings. He asked what made Rocha asked the man to continue his story, and he said that when the boy turned 2, Rocha listened carefully to the man. Finally, he said that he himself began to be afraid of this boy because he realized that he could harm him too. He can also die from his black magic powers. In one of the drawings, Rocha saw a portrait of her sister. He was drawn sloppily, and it was unclear whether he was smiling at the man held his head in both hands, his fingers trembling. Every night he sees his dead wife, as well as other people who died at the hands of his son. He constantly sees them walking along the corridors of the castle. The Count had real despair on his face. For several months in a row, he has not been able to sleep normally. The spirits of dead people constantly wander before his... It was in vain that Noah gave the knight several days of vacation. We should have come here a long time ago and acted differently. Rhythm asked the Count to immediately take her to this strange child. And again at home, the ruler led the girl through deserted corridors and courtyards. There wasn't a soul around. Rocha realized that the entire staff was scared and quit. All that was left was at home. The ruler said that absolutely everyone, including her, was afraid of the boy who had been installed as a count. But at this age, she will no longer be able to find another job, so she remains with the count and his son. The woman also added that, oddly enough, the child treats her very well and considers her his grandmother. The housekeeper led Rocha to the left wing of the castle. Then the girl will have to go on her own, since the young gentleman is very sensitive and does not like to be in a... Walking through the courtyard, Rosha became thoughtful. Maybe this child has nothing to do with God. Maybe this is the most common demon. And the fact that he was born in Baria, and even in that same year, may be a simple coincidence. Therefore, one should not draw hasty conclusions. Suddenly, her white wolf cub escaped from her hands and began to chase the... After running a few more tens of meters, Rosha saw a whole flock of white doves. They circled over a boy of unprecedented beauty, sat in his arms, and hummed something. Little Shad ran up to the boy and began to cuddle him. This was not typical for a wolf, so Rosha was very surprised. What kind of energy does this boy have? He attracts all living things to himself. And then the girl remembered the words of Count Baldwin that his adopted son's attention concerned not only people. Any animal that the boy touched soon fell ill and died a terrible death. So Rosha started screaming at the wolf cub to come back into her arms immediately. But the dog didn't even want to listen. He played... The boy heard a voice and raised his head to see who had approached him. He looked at Rosha and then suddenly called her by name. The next moment, the child rose from his knees and instantly rushed into the girl's arms. He said that he had been waiting for her appearance in the palace for so long. And finally, she came for him. The boy hugged Rosha again. He further said that he always knew that the girl would come for him one day, so this is not news to him. Now he is incredibly happy that this moment has finally arrived. Rosha still remembered the Count's words. Therefore, in order to avoid death, she asked the boy to move away and not approach her. Then she decided to ask how this child knew her name. A beautiful smile continued to play on the boy's face. He was not at all surprised by this question. He replied that he had long seen the day of their meeting and knew exactly who should come for him. The girl said that her name is really Rosha. She came to this country to help the boy. He, in turn, said that his name is Joshua von... The young people sat down near the fireplace in Joshua's room. Rosha once again reminded that she had come here to help the boy. But first, she needs to ask him about something in order to know how to proceed. She already asked the first question there, on the street. And so, how does he know her name? And Rosha asked the boy to describe these people. He replied that they could not be touched. From a distance, they look like people, but dark, like some kind of shadow, and they always move in groups. Rosha had never heard of such demons, so she asked the boy to describe them in more detail. Every time Joshua tried to talk to them, they ignored all his words, repeating only one phrase. Die, pathetic Rostelier. And every time they want to make the boy feel like someone is threatening him and wanting him to die. Whenever Joshua is hurt by someone, these shadows whisper to him to kill the offender. Now everything has become clear. Because of this whispering of dark demons, the boy began to get confused in his own thoughts. He really began to want his offenders to die a terrible death. And no matter how scary and strange it may sound, all the people who somehow offended Joshua ended up dying. But the boy also came from animals. He never even hit a single one. On the contrary, he looked after everyone, fed and took care of them. But in the end, tears appeared in the boy's eyes. He said that everyone here thinks he is strange and dangerous. And then he asked Rosha if she was as afraid of him as other people. The boy said he realized Rosha was afraid to touch him. I also saw how worried she was about her little wolf and raven. But he doesn't want to. Then Joshua asked why then she was not afraid for her life, but only for the lives of her animals. But Rosha replied that the wolf and the raven were the dearest and closest creatures to her. That's why she's very worried about them. The girl said she was not afraid for her life. She is strong enough to fight evil forces. Therefore, he can calmly hug her as much as he wants. Roach wondered what the demons really showed Joshua when they told him about her, and the boy replied that they showed him the future, where Rosha was simply crazy about the boy. He had already seen the future, and there Rosha always looked at him tenderly, stroked his blonde hair, and every time told him that he would. Probably for the first time in a long time, the boy looked truly happy. They were not afraid of him and allowed him not only to touch him, but even the girl decided to switch the conversation to another topic. And she asked the boy to remember if the demons had told him about anyone else. For example, about a girl with long blonde hair, but Joshua became noticeably sadder. He said he didn't remember. Maybe there was some girl, but this is not certain. All his visions are very blurry. Everything except the visions of Roche. All clear. You will have to do some research on your own and find out all the necessary information. Therefore, the girl turned around and headed toward. The boy was left alone again. He looked through the large panoramic window as Rocha walked through the castle courtyard, and he so wanted to walk with her, holding her hand. That would be great. But evil shadows were already filling his room. They whispered to him to kill the guest. She is a stranger and only brings harm. She is one of the members of the Golden Dawn, and they are enemies. Therefore, you need to get rid of it. With incredible efforts, the boy managed to gather his will into a fist and respond to the evil shadows that gathered around him. He's not going to kill this girl. There is no way in hell he will do this. Meanwhile, Rosha left the castle and headed to the orphanage, which was located nearby. It is quite possible that the girl was met by the director of the orphanage. She should have been warned that a man from the Golden Dawn was coming to visit them. So the director also introduced herself. Her name is Susan Lelitra. She is aware of the girl's visit and has been waiting for her for a long time. And the woman has heard a lot about the work of their organization and even admires it. Rosha patiently listened to the flattering words towards the Golden Dawn clan, but decided not to drag out the conversation for too long, so she immediately got down to business. She knows that a girl named Lily Levin is. Susan's expression changed dramatically. She became sad and said, puzzled, that she couldn't help. A girl named Lily. It seemed that Rosha was about to lose his composure. The headmistress even took her arm so that she wouldn't faint, and suggested that the girl go inside the building to come to her senses. That's how they ended up in Susan's office. The woman said that Lily managed to escape from the shelter. She did it tonight. Everyone thought that the girl would return by morning, but Rosha was so close to getting her little sister back. But alas, she left the office in a bad mood. Rosha joyfully called out to the girl, but she did not react and rushed further down the corridor. Well, no. Now, suddenly, the image of the running girl simply disappeared into thin air, and Headmistress Susan appeared. The woman frowned and said that she couldn't let the girl go any further. Behind her is a children's recreation area, and outsiders are Something is unclean here. Why doesn't this woman want to let her through? And why is he trying to convince him that it was just a girl who looked like... While Rosha was quarreling with the headmistress, that same bright girl approached the... Returning to the hotel, Rosha fell on the bed, and even in her sleep, the girl felt someone approaching her, and it definitely wasn't a person. Then she was doused with icy cold from head to toe. It was even scary to open my eyes. And then she was grabbed with some terrible force and lifted above the bed. And luckily, a raven flew up at the right. The demon crawled up the wall. The knight watched him from below. Where will he go next? After carefully following his movements, she realized that the lizard had climbed. Rosha ran to the window of her room and looked down. It was necessary to immediately go to Joshua's room. Perhaps the demon managed to harm him. The boy woke up because of the noise. He didn't understand what was happening. It's night outside. Why isn't Rosha sleeping? And what is she doing in his room? The girl replied that she saw a demon climb into his bedroom through the window. And then a strange moment came. For a second, Roche thought that an evil spirit might have entered Joshua's body, so she grabbed the boy by... Something seems fishy here. It's a bitter winter outside, terrible cold, and it's snowing. Why did this boy open the window? Rosha did not let go of her grip. Now she will bring this mysterious baby to light. She asked why Joshua touched the birds. Does he enjoy seeing animals and people around him die? What's going on with him? But it was clear that the boy himself was scared, and he said that Rosha decided to check what was what. She went downstairs and began to look at the dead birds. There was a clearly perceptible... Since the boy does not want to say what is happening here, Joshua got even more scared and started screaming at the top of his lungs. The pendulum... Kheen entered the room. He was a little excited. The guy drew his sword and pointed it towards Roshi. He asked her in an angry voice to leave the child alone and move away from him. Within a few minutes, Rosha was sitting in her room. The only one who could calm the girl down was the white wolf cub. It seemed to her that just a little more and she would go crazy. Kheen stood next to her, not far from the door. He said he could understand her actions, but still, it was still a good night. It was clear that the guy was also damn tired. Kheen asked Rosha to tell him more about this child. They need to think about how to proceed. Rosha recounted to the knight all the incidents of the previous day. She also remembered how at night a demon in the form of a huge lizard burst into her room and began to strangle her. Then he disappeared into Joshua's room. Kheen thought to himself that he should have visited Rosha earlier. Then perhaps this incident would not have happened. He asked the girl if she was injured and if she was okay. The guy also asked why, upon arriving in a foreign country, she immediately went to an orphanage. He and Aaron assumed that the girl would do just that. It turned out they were absolutely... After these words, Rosha became truly furious. Where else could she go? She needs to find her sister. This is what she did. But unfortunately, I was only a few hours late. Her sister has disappeared. Why doesn't he have an ounce of compassion? Why is he so callous? He also had a family, so why could... The next moment, the girl realized that she was going too far. She shouldn't yell at the guy. It's all emotions. Therefore, Rosha quickly asked for forgiveness for her hurtful words. The guy's life story was also not easy. He lived in an orphanage with his twin brother. Kheen survived the rise of Babylon as well as the loss of a loved one. Now he is alone in the whole world. It was clear that the guy was hurt by the girl's harsh words, but he accepted the apology. He told her not to doubt for a minute that her sister was still alive and waiting for her help. But the guy also asked to pay attention to the fact that Rosha is too attached to her sister. And strong attachment, as experience shows, does not lead to any. Kheen said that she needs to try to set her priorities in life correctly. She cannot spend her whole life looking for her sister, but when leaving, the knight apologized again and asked to be as vigilant as possible. Members of the Babylon organization want to fool them. Kheen turned around, but finally told Rosha to think carefully. He knows how much she wants to find her sister. Crap. Damn it. Well, why did everything turn out this way? What if Kheen tells Noah that she is not suitable for the mission to find the child of the bug? She needs to be careful. In the morning, she decided to go to Joshua and ask the boy for forgiveness. She scared him pretty much yesterday. So, as befits a knight, Rosha knelt down and asked for forgiveness for yesterday's incident. But Joshua said that there is no need to apologize forcefully, and suddenly the boy burst into tears. He said that he felt like a real outcast because he was from another country. She felt so sorry for this poor child that Rosha herself pulled. This time, Rosha asked Joshua for forgiveness absolutely sincerely. She was ashamed for doing this to this child. She promised Joshua that she would protect him from any harm from now on. She takes on all the demons, so the boy has nothing to worry about anymore. Rosha remembered her teacher's parting words. If you want to get close to a person, the girl shared with Joshua the whole story of her life. She said that her sister was saved from a demon, and yesterday she came to the orphanage in the hope that she would finally return her little sister, hug her, and never let her go. But it seemed to Roche that the boy was imbued with her story. He was silent for a while, and then said that he was not at all angry with. In many, many years, this little boy was the first person to comfort her so sincerely. In the courtyard of the orphanage, everything was as always. The children played happily and screamed from an overabundance of emotions. In the church, which was located on the territory of the shelter, a woman was kneeling and praying. This woman was the same director of the orphanage, Mrs. Susan, and she sincerely believed that the forces of darkness would win on Earth. Mrs. Susan's assistant entered the church hall and reported that Rosha, a girl knight with the woman, was distracted from her prayer and began to change her clothes. A few minutes later, the same modest woman in glasses of no particular age stood in front of the guests. An indifferent smile played on her face. Rosha saw perfectly well that the woman was pretending to be friendly and responsive. The woman tried her best to be kind and offered the boy to drink some delicious cocoa and eat some cookies. But Rosha categorically forbade Joshua to do this. She came here to have a serious conversation. Any news about her? The woman began to show sadness on her face, but it turned out pretty bad for her. The director said that, unfortunately, there was no news. So this morning, Rosha said she plans to interview town residents and put up flyers with Lily's photo. The director didn't mind. Then Susan turned to Joshua. She said the boy looked very tired. But the girl blocked her path to the baby. The woman looked at him in a very strange way. Therefore, wherever Rosha goes now, she will definitely pull the boy along with her and will not leave. There was nothing to do. The headmistress had to let the knight's girl and her. Rosha went to her sister's former room. There was nothing suspicious there. Everything is the same as in all rooms of orphanages. It seemed that Susan was absolutely unwilling to leave Rosha and Joshua alone in Lily's room. The girl thanked Susan again and apologized for taking up a lot of her time. She took Joshua's hand and headed out of the shelter. The atmosphere here was suddenly. Roshi's gaze fell on a familiar silhouette in the same familiar dress. She ran up to the girl and turned her around to face her. Everything was the same, except for the color. Rosha asked how it could be that yesterday this girl had blonde hair. Yesterday she looked exactly like, what is this strange and very scary place? This orphanage for children? And why are children allowed to wear wigs here? We had to go back to the hotel. She couldn't fail the main mission. But suddenly a girl who looked like her sister started screaming and asking Rosha to stop. She asked for forgiveness. In the evening, Rosha told the boy that she would spend the night in his room. This is for... The boy was very happy to hear this news. He was really scared to spend the night alone. The girl saw that the boy really wanted to tell her something, but was afraid or embarrassed. So she asked herself what his problem was. Joshua replied that but the girl decided to calm the boy down. She said that her mission is to protect Joshua. The day turned out to be difficult. So when Joshua fell asleep, Rosha sat on the big one near the bed and decided to sit in the dark for a while and think. The situation is getting more... On the sofa lay a candy that Rosh had been given by a girl who looked like her sister as an apology. The girl printed it out, and then her gaze... The little wolf played with this candy wrapper. Taking a closer look, Rosha saw that there was some kind of message. She picked up the candy wrapper and carefully straightened the paper. The girl's secret... Joshua's sleep was very restless. He kept spinning around, and then he began to hear familiar voices. These were demons. They asked the boy in unison. Then the voice asked the boy to get up and look around the room. Rosha abandoned him. She ran away secretly. The voice said it would always be like this. Everyone will abandon him. No. The voice called and called the boy, and to get rid of him, Joshua quickly ran out of his room. He must find Rosha. The boy ran out into the street, forgetting to even put on his shoes. But even there, voices whispered. Yes, Rosha was already far from the castle where Joshua grew up. She stood in front of a small door. I had to use my powers of magic. A few minutes later, the girl managed to open the locked door. She went